Hey there. Welcome to our channel. We're so glad you're here. Please like, share, and subscribe to join us for awesome content. Also share this video with your family and friends. Let's get started. The engines have gone quiet now. No more vibrations under your feet. No more blinking indicators. Just you and the soft hum of the ship's life support, barely there like a whisper behind glass. Outside, an asteroid floats in perfect stillness, held not by gravity, but by memory. Turns slowly, patiently, in the black. The surface is rough, weathered, but not by wind or rain. There is no weather here, no storms, no sky. Only time. Long, silent time. You drift closer, tethered by invisible threads of motion and control, your body weightless in this womb of space. Every heartbeat feels louder. Every breath, a ripple in the stillness. The asteroid is small, maybe a kilometer across, but it holds the weight of 1 billion years. Older than mountains, older than forests, older than breath. You imagine it forming in the early solar system, when the planets were still dust and dreams. Back then, there were countless fragments like this, leftover pieces from the solar system's great construction. Some collided and became moons. Some were pulled into planets. But this quiet traveler, remained untouched. You reach out, gloved fingers grazing its surface. The rock is not cold. In the vacuum of space, heat doesn't behave the way you're used to. Simply waits. The stone beneath your fingers feels timeless, like the spine of an old book. There's a kind of reverence in this moment. You're not here to take or claim, not yet. You're here to observe, to listen. The surface is peppered with tiny crater signs of ancient collisions, like wrinkles on an old face. Each impact tells a story. Particle from the Oort cloud, pebble from Mars, debris from a shattered comet. This is no ordinary rock. It's a library of cosmic events. You close your eyes, floating beside it, and you begin to imagine the world this asteroid came from. A swirling disk of dust and gas, orbiting a newborn Sunday, planets not yet formed, gravity still learning how to speak. And in that chaos, this fragment found its shape. Not sculpted by hand or wind, but by pressure and persistence. Its minerals cooled, its metals settled. Iron and nickel, carbon and silicates all laid down in layers like the slow rings of a tree. You wonder, what would it be like to crack it open? To cut into the stone and see the oldest things your species has ever seen? Would it smell of dust? Would it shimmer inside with untouched metal? Would it feel wrong, like opening a sealed letter never meant for you? You float a little closer. The sensors on your suit scan its surface. Nothing alarming. No signs of recent movement. No volatile materials waiting to explode. Just quiet geology suspended in space. You drift along its side, mapping its contours. You think about how different this is from Earth. There, rocks erode, transform, crumble. But here, change comes only from impact, from collision, not weathering. It's strange, isn't it? On Earth, time wears things down gently. Here, time waits for something to strike. You remember something you read once, that most of the gold on Earth came from asteroid impacts, billions of years ago. That the metals we now use to build circuits and crowns and coins were once stardust, floating like this, until they struck our planet in fire and fury. Maybe this rock is made of that same ancient wealth. Not just in metals, but in meaning, in memory, in silence. You exhale slowly, your breath clouding your visor for a moment. Behind you, the sun is a small, sharp star. Its light touches the asteroid in a narrow band, leaving the rest in shadow. Light and darkness chase each other across its face, as they always have. You feel small but not lost. This place, this asteroid, does not care who you are. It does not ask questions. It does not offer answers. But it holds a stillness you've never known, a kind of patient truth. And in that silence, you begin to understand something. Not with words, but with wonder. The universe isn't loud. It doesn't shout its story. It speaks in gravity and dust, in slow rotations and ancient paths. This rock has been circling the sun for longer than there has been music or language or cities. And now you float beside it, listening. You think of the Earth spinning far away, wrapped in its blue shawl of air and cloud. There, people sleep beneath ceilings and stars, unaware of this stone gliding silently through the void. But here you are, awake, present. A single mind wrapped in fabric and intention, drifting in space beside a relic of the beginning. It humbles you, not in a frightening way, in a peaceful one, as if the asteroid is reminding you that you don't need to know everything yet, that not all things must be understood to be meaningful, that some truths are quiet, some stories are slow. You stay with it a little longer, just floating, just breathing, just being. There will be time soon for drills and data, for analysis and ambition, but tonight you are here to listen, to feel the rhythm of something ancient, to let it slow your thoughts, soften your muscles, and quiet the hum of restless curiosity. Because the story begins not with what we take from space, but what we learn by waiting beside it. And yet, somewhere in the dark, a question begins to form: what if, deep inside this quiet stone, something waits to wake? You drift beside the asteroid, watching the sun glint off its jagged edge. Light spills like honey over the stone, revealing a shimmer faint but real. Beneath layers of dust and cosmic aging, something gleams. Not a trick of light, not ice, not illusion. It's metal, pure and patient, the kind born in the death of stars. You feel a tug deep in your chest, part curiosity, part instinct, a memory passed down through bones and blood. On Earth, you live surrounded by metal, the iron in your blood, the copper in wires, the gold in rings, in circuits, in crowns long buried. All of it once came from stars. This asteroid, floating quietly, holds a vault of ancient treasure. Not treasure in the greedy sense. No pirates, no maps, just atoms, tightly packed, waiting in the dark. You recall how gold is made not in mines or mountains, but in the furnace of a dying star, in supernovae and neutron star collisions. Unimaginable heat, impossible pressure, and from that chaos, elements are born. Platinum, iridium, gold, forged in fire, scattered in silence, flung across galaxies, caught in clouds, woven into new worlds. You imagine that journey, now a particle of gold, billions of years ago, hurled through space, alone, cold, until it found others like it, drawn together by gravity's quiet pull, merging, colliding, becoming part of this asteroid. It has rested here ever since. You scan the readings from your suit: high concentrations of metal, denser than expected. Iron and nickel, yes, but more. Traces of cobalt, osmium, ruthenium, and gold, not flakes, but veins, twisting deep through the rock like frozen rivers of fire. It's strange to think that this metal is not alive, yet it holds the memory of things that once were. Stellar death, elemental birth, cosmic wandering. Each speck is a relic of something vast and violent, now silent. Your hand brushes the asteroid's surface again. It's rough, irregular, but beneath it order sleeps. Atoms arranged in crystal grids. Nature's symmetry hiding in plain sight. A logic too deep to see, but not too deep to feel. Mining, is not just excavation. It's negotiation. A conversation with ancient material. Machines will come slowly, carefully, and begin the process of breaking, sorting, melting. But for now, you're here just to listen, to learn, to wonder. Why do we value gold? Is it the color, the way it catches the light like sunset trapped in stone? Or is it the weight, the way it sits heavy in the hand, dense with meaning? Maybe it's the rarity, the fact that it cannot rust, cannot fade, cannot be made from anything less. Or maybe it's the story it carries, that in holding it we are holding starfire. You think of Earth again, vaults filled with it, circuits laced with it, and still the hunger for more. Is it need or nostalgia that drives humanity to chase these metals across the void? Perhaps both. Perhaps, somewhere in our molecules, we remember where we came from and want to return. The data comes in slowly, like fog rolling over a field. Your instruments trace the asteroid's makeup layer by layer. Most of it is iron. That makes sense, it's common in metal-rich asteroids. But even iron tells a story. Two was formed in stars. It too has drifted through time to end up here in your hands. You think about iron in your blood. It carries oxygen, life's breath through your veins. Without it, there would be no heartbeat, no thought. You are quite literally built from stardust. This rock and your body share the same ancestral light. And in that thought, you feel something settle. A quiet unity. You are not separate from this place. You are not intruding. You are a child returning to the cradle. A memory stepping back into matter. Still, not all questions are gentle. To take from this asteroid is to change it. To remove something permanent from the silence of space. What is the cost of such extraction? What ripple does it send into the solar system, into ethics, into ecology, into the shape of future skies? The answers don't come easily. They are not meant to. They drift like gold dust in water seen, but not caught. You mark the readings. File the data. Everything is calm, expected. But even in calm, there is tension. You cannot help but feel that this asteroid, though voiceless, remembers something. It has survived time, collisions, solar storms. It has kept its secrets. You are the first to touch it, the first to ask what it carries. And now you wonder, what else lies beneath the metal? Not all that shines is gold, and not all that rests is still. The core of the asteroid may hold surprises, hollow spaces, ancient ice, magnetic anomalies, strange radiation too faint to disturb, but not too faint to notice. There is more to this rock than value. There is something about it that stirs your senses. And somewhere in its heart, something shifts. Not a sound, not a tremor, but a sense that the story this stone holds is not entirely over. You begin your descent toward the surface slowly, precisely, like drifting into a thought you've long held but never spoken aloud. There is no wind here, no air to carry a sound. Just vacuum, perfect and absolute. Your suit seals you in a cocoon of breath and warmth, and you float toward the asteroid's edge, where shadows deepen and sunlight fractures along broken stone. The silence is not empty. It has texture like a thick blanket pulled over the cosmos. Everything moves, but nothing stirs. Beneath you, the mining drones come alive. They don't roar or grind like they would on Earth. In the vacuum, sound cannot travel, so their work is quiet, graceful. You watch as they unfold themselves like flowers blooming in zero gravity. Thin arms extend. Brushes glide. Lasers trace faint paths across the rock, mapping the surface grain by grain. This is mining in the breathless dark. Not a conquest, but a careful unweaving. Each movement must be exact. There is no weight here, only mass, a subtle distinction, but a crucial one. On Earth, a machine digs by pressing downward. Here, it would simply float away unless anchored. Every touch must be met with counterforce. Every slice, every collection, must be balanced with intention. As a ballet, metal limbs moving with slow, mathematical grace. You watch as one drone adjusts its position. It extends a sampling probe toward the gold-veined crevice you noted earlier. The probe touches the surface with the lightness of a whisper. Dust lifts, then settles again like slow snow. No sudden motions. No unnecessary force. This asteroid is fragile in ways you can't always see. A wrong push could send particles scattering into unpredictable orbits, fragments moving for years, even decades, before they collide with something else. The goal here is not just to collect. It's to disturb as little as possible. The drone extracts a thin cylinder of stone, a core sample, and seals it in a chamber for later study. The process takes time. It must. Rushing here is like sprinting through a mirror maze. The danger isn't just in what you hit, but in what you shatter. Still, even with care, you feel a tension building. A quiet kind of resistance. Not from the machines, but from the place itself. The asteroid is reacting not violently, but subtly. Dust begins to move in unusual patterns. Static electricity crackles faintly across one machine's frame. Instruments start picking up small irregularities, magnetic pulses, like heartbeats that skip a note. You know enough to recognize the signs. This asteroid isn't uniform. Somewhere beneath the surface, it hides complexity, layers folded over time, perhaps ice trapped in cavities, perhaps metals with magnetic signatures stronger than expected. This complicates the work. You signal to the system to pause extraction. Drones retreat. Arms fold inward like petals at dusk. You float down to inspect the area more closely. Your boots, lightly magnetized, grip the surface with delicate force. Each step is slow, deliberate. There's no dust cloud to rise, no crunch beneath your feet. Just the sensation of being tethered to something vast and still. You kneel beside the sample site, running a scanner over the stone. The readings show slight instability, possibly due to hollow spaces deeper within. Air pockets? Frozen volatiles? No way to tell for certain without deeper probing. You pause, listening not with ears, but with attention. It's easy to forget how fragile these ancient rocks can be. They look solid, but many are barely held together, loose collections of rubble bound by gravity and time. Some call them rubble piles. A single miscalculated drill could trigger a collapse. Or worse, release gas that's lain dormant for millennia. You breathe slowly, letting your body relax. It is a strange kind of intimacy being here, you and the asteroid, alone in a shared silence. You try to picture its interior, the hidden cavities, the metallic spines, the fault lines running like scars beneath its skin. There's a rhythm to this work, a kind of listening that machines alone can't perform. Your intuition is part of the process. Your ability to feel what the data only hints at. The way your breath slows when something unseen feels off. It's not magic. It's experience. Embodied science. You are part of the system now. The machines wait. You decide not to push further today. There's too much you don't yet know. A good scientist respects not just the data, but the silence between the data points, the things that might be waiting in the gaps. Back aboard the observation module, you review the day's scans. Mineral distributions, seismic patterns, magnetic fields. Something about this asteroid doesn't add up. It's denser than it should be, but irregularly so. Some regions behave like metal, others like dust. Beneath its crust, it might be a hybrid of histories, a fusion of several smaller bodies, a graveyard of collisions. You sip warm water from your flask. The taste reminds you of rivers, of places with wind and trees and sound. Here, water clings to the edge of your mouth, as if reluctant to move without gravity's permission. Your thoughts drift. What does it mean to mine a place like this? To take from something so ancient, so far removed from Earth's noise and need? You think about how every act of extraction is also an act of translation, turning time into tools, turning silence into data, turning memory into motion. And yet, something nags at the edge of your mind. Back in the scans, a shape, almost lost in the noise. A line that curves too neatly, a cavity too perfect. You replay the data, slow it down, enhance it. There, buried under meters of regolith, is a pocket of something. Not empty, not solid, not quite natural. You flag it for deeper analysis, but for now you turn away. Sleep begins to settle into your limbs, that weightless kind of tiredness that comes not from labor, but from depth. From being inside a question with no easy answer. The machines have powered down for the cycle. The asteroid turns slowly beneath your orbit. Outside your window, the stars shine like cold candles, and you wonder gently, slowly, what lies inside this quiet stone that resists your careful touch. Because not all structures are stable, and not all systems are silent when disturbed. The data hums like a lullaby in the quiet of your module. Lines of spectral readouts trace across your display, colors without color, peaks without sound. They are the voices of atoms, speaking in the language of reflected light and absorbed frequencies. You listen with your eyes, and your mind becomes still. This is chemistry in space, not in beakers or flasks, but written across stone and shadow. The asteroid beneath you is no longer just a rock. It is a ledger of elemental memory, a story told in the arrangement of its dust. And you, the quiet reader, begin to trace the lines. Iron, yes, so much iron. It shines brightest in the sensor data, humming steadily like a deep drumbeat. Nickel, too, dancing beside it, its partner in planetary cores. These two are expected, familiar, They form the bones of many asteroids, leftovers from the swirling cloud that once gave birth to the solar system. But deeper in the readings, subtler, stranger, are hints of something more complex. Carbon, in surprising quantities, and silicates, fractured into unfamiliar patterns. You widen the scan, trace isotopes. Something here has been altered, not artificially, not by tools or hands, but by time, by pressure, by heat, maybe by fire. You remember, as if from a dream, that not all asteroids are the same. Some are rocky, the silicate-rich S-types. Others, like the one beneath you, are more enigmatic. M-types, metallic and heavy. And then there are the C-types, carbonaceous, dark, ancient. Full of the ingredients for life, if not life itself. This asteroid seems to blur the lines between them. A hybrid, a fusion of fragments. A traveler pieced together by collision and chaos. A ghost of several pasts, now drifting as one. You scan again, this time looking for volatiles, compounds that prefer cold and dark. Water, ammonia, methane. These do not form readily on Earth. But in the outer reaches of the solar system they are common. Cradled in the cold. Protected by distance. And here surprisingly you find traces. Frozen water, tucked into microscopic pores in the rock. Carbon compounds curled like forgotten blueprints in ancient clay. They are not abundant, but they are present, like whispers from a time before planets. You feel something stir in your chest, a soft ache of curiosity. These molecules, humble as they are, hold immense significance. Carbon is the backbone of life. Hydrogen its dance partner. Oxygen its breath. Together they form sugars, acids, chains of complexity. The building blocks of what might someday become thought. Here, on this barren, airless stone, are the ingredients not of life, but of its potential. Locked in stasis, suspended in deep time, you wonder how many asteroids like this float unnoticed through the dark, cradling chemistry in silence. Your instruments continue their slow, delicate work. A laser spectrometer begins to map the surface composition in finer detail. Patterns emerge. Variations. Zones of altered chemistry. A rich seam of carbon compounds stretches beneath one edge, winding like a buried river through the rock. You zoom in. Analyze. Some of these molecules are familiar. Simple hydrocarbons, methane, ethane, benzene. But others are more complex. Polycyclics. Rings within rings. Prebiotic structures, unlikely but possible. The kinds of molecules once found in meteorites that landed on Earth. The kind that made scientists wonder. Did life begin here, or was it seeded from beyond? You don't know. No one does. But this asteroid offers a quiet clue. You lean back, letting your gaze rest on the dark window beyond your lab. The stars remain still. The asteroid continues its slow spin beneath your orbit. Out there, dust drifts endlessly. Every particle a piece of a story never fully told. It's strange, isn't it? That desire can exist in something without a mind. This rock doesn't want, but it holds the potential for desire, for replication, for reaction. These molecules, if warmed, if placed in the right environment, could begin to move, to change, to build upon themselves, to reach in their own slow chemistry toward complexity. Desire, you realize, is not just human. It begins with atoms, with affinity, with bonds, with the pull between pieces that wish to become whole. The asteroid knows none of this, of course. It does not seek. It does not yearn. But you do. You ache to know more, to dig deeper, to find the places where chemistry becomes memory. And yet, caution returns, like a cool wind through the chest. You remember the pocket from earlier, the anomaly buried beneath the surface. It appeared geometric, intentional, but molecules can form patterns, too. Crystals grow in perfect shapes, no intelligence required. Still, something about it lingers in your thoughts. Could a chemical reaction, long buried, still wait inside? Could it be triggered by your presence? A reaction set in motion not by design, but by disturbance. Your instruments begin to flicker. One drone reports inconsistent readings. Not danger exactly, just irregularity. A patch of material that behaves unpredictably. You file the note, adjust parameters, resume the scan, but a new question settles into the room like dust. What happens when chemistry crosses a threshold? When reactions begin where none were meant to? When compounds, long dormant, begin to wake? You stare at the data, watching molecules map themselves across the screen like constellations of purpose. And quietly, gently, you begin to wonder, what if the asteroid is not just holding chemistry? What if it is becoming something? Something is different. The asteroid drifts as it always has, silent, steady, but you feel it. A shift, a tension beneath the quiet, like a breath held too long. You've spent days with this stone, mapping its minerals, tracing its frozen chemistry. But now its rotation is off. Not dramatically, just a fraction of a degree faster. Just enough for your instruments to whisper. Something has changed. And change out here is never random. Asteroids don't wake up. They don't think. They don't want. But they do respond. The alteration is subtle, yet consistent. Bin rate, temperature, surface radiation. Tiny shifts together, they form a pattern. You double-check the numbers. Then check again. This is not equipment error. The asteroid is shifting, like a sleeper stirring beneath a blanket of dust. What did we touch? Your mind returns to the cavity buried deep beneath the surface. The anomaly, a pocket not entirely solid, not entirely empty. You haven't drilled into it. Not yet. But your presence alone. It could be enough. Vibrations, heat, electromagnetic fields, drones humming, lasers scanning. Reactions don't always need ignition. Sometimes they just need a nudge. You review the chemical map. The carbon structure's strange, branching, reactive. Could some have been in a state of suspended instability? Like matches poised on the edge of friction, waiting not for fire, but for friction itself? You float above the surface again, tethered gently to the control platform. Your breath echoes in your helmet, slow and even. The drones remain powered down. A pause. A breath, a stillness, and yet, the asteroid's spin continues to accelerate. Gently, relentlessly, a small dust plume rises near the southern ridge unprovoked. No machine touched it. It simply lifts like exhalation. Gravity on this rock is barely present. But something has disturbed the balance. Gas maybe, a release from within, a fracture beginning to open. The plume swirls, hangs in place, then disperses, leaving behind silence and unease. You send a probe to measure localized pressure. It dips, slightly, as if something beneath the crust is decompressing. Could it be trapped gas from ancient ice? Could chemical bonds, disturbed by exposure, be unraveling? Or is this simply what happens when you dig too deep into something old? In science, you're trained to resist the language of feeling. But out here, far from Earth, your instincts matter. And your instincts tell you, this asteroid is not inert. Not anymore. It doesn't live. But it reacts. It remembers. Back inside the lab module, you pull up vibration data from earlier drone work. A rhythmic pulse, faint but real, repeats across multiple sensors. Almost mechanical but too irregular. Not machine. Not artificial. Resonance. Something beneath the surface is echoing. The drilling wasn't deep, but it may have sent tremors through internal structures. Loosely held rock, frozen volatiles, crystalline chemistry. The asteroid isn't waking because it wants to. It's waking because we touched it. There is no threat. Not yet. But this is the frontier of uncertainty where natural systems become unpredictable. Where material remembers forces long past. Where even dust can carry potential. You initiate a scan of the inner anomaly. Results return slowly. Resolution is poor, the material is dense, scattered, confusing. But a shape begins to emerge. Not an object. Not a machine. Just a cavity strangely symmetrical. Lined with a substance that reflects signals unevenly. Metallic, perhaps, or something glass-like. Possibly crystalline. But formed how? Could this be the result of an ancient impact material melted, pooled, and cooled in the asteroid's core? Or something stranger, a reaction that never finished? A chemical process frozen mid-thought? The cavity's resonance pattern becomes clearer now. Not constant, but pulsing. Irregular but not random. And you feel it again, that sense. That this rock was never just a rock. Not intelligent. Not conscious. But still reactive. Structured. Capable of complexity. Loving this? Hit that subscribe button to keep up with our videos. Also share this video with your family and friends. Not life, but the shape of something life could learn from. You adjust the sensors for a final scan. Narrow focus. Deep range. And then for just a second the readings spike. A burst of localized energy. Low frequency. Narrowband. Then silence. You hold your breath. What was that? Too regular to be thermal. Too narrow to be seismic. A signal? No, not a message, but a result. A byproduct of change. You pause the scan. You power down all unnecessary systems. You step back from the edge of knowing. The asteroid is not hostile, but it is not passive. Something has been disturbed, a balance, perhaps. A chemistry not meant to last, or meant only to last in quiet. You float there watching it turn. Faster now. Just slightly, but enough. And you ask yourself, what do we risk when we assume silence means safety? When we mine without memory? When we touch, but forget to listen? The asteroid spins slowly beneath you, its shadows long and curling. And deep inside, beneath layers of dust and metal and time, something continues to stir. You listen, not with ears but with instruments tuned to tremble. Sensors now cradle the asteroid like fingertips on a pulse. What they feel is not motion but memory. Echoes of the drills that once pressed lightly into the surface now reverberate downward. Stone does not forget, especially not this stone. The mantle, the layer beneath the dusty crust, responds like something startled in sleep. Vibrations pass through it, not quickly, not with violence, but with rhythm. A soft and shifting echo, as if the rock itself is whispering back. You float beside the observation window. Below you, the asteroid turns slowly, and within it, the echoes turn slower still. You call up a scan of the subsurface, a cross-section rendered in light and shade, a story told in density and diffraction. You see the layers now irregular, tangled, compacted by time. This is not one asteroid, but the fossil of many. Some fragments are metallic, others carbon-rich. Some are brittle, filled with voids. And in between, seams of fractured silicates, like old scars that never quite healed. It's in these seams the echoes concentrate. You magnify, trace their path. They move like ripples through a pond of buried memory, following cracks, curling around voids, amplifying, fading, then returning. Not seismic waves, exactly not like on Earth. Here, without gravity to compress or tension to release, motion spreads differently. Like breath across ice. The central cavity, the strange anomaly you first found, remains unchanged in shape. But not in silence. The echoes pass through it and something inside answers, faintly. A return vibration, weak but precise. Not a signal. Not intention. Just resonance. You know this from geology. Certain structures, especially crystalline ones, amplify specific frequencies. They ring like tuning forks when touched just right. Could this be a natural resonator? A chamber filled with mineral forms that respond to vibration? Or perhaps a trap not of malice, but of memory? You return to the chemical models. Many silicate minerals exhibit piezoelectric behavior. They produce electric charge under pressure. Quartz is one. If such minerals are embedded in this asteroid, even mild stress could trigger fields. Could energy, once trapped, be leaking now? You check radiation levels. Still low, still safe, but a faint increase barely above background tickles the sensors near the anomaly. Something within the stone is shifting, not decaying, not combusting, rearranging. You lower another drone into position, slower this time, gentler. The machine drifts, small and light, its tools inactive, its mission observational. A camera rolls forward, tracking the mouth of a new fracture. One that wasn't there before. The rock has opened only slightly, just enough to show something unexpected. Inside, not darkness, but a faint sheen. Layers of crystal, thin and overlapping. Translucent like mica, their angles sharp but not random. Each one is a witness to these ancient collisions. Each one holds secrets of fire and shadow. And your journey through dust and time has only just begun. You watch the sun touch the asteroid's surface, and suddenly, the story changes. Light arrives, a traveler from a distant star bringing warmth, color, and whispered secrets. The rock beneath you is not simply stone. It is a canvas, waiting for light to speak. And the sun's rays, soft and golden, become storytellers in their own right. You imagine photons, tiny messengers streaming across the void. They have journeyed millions of miles, crossing the silence of space, only to meet this ancient stone. When they touch its surface, they do not merely bounce off. They speak. Reflections shift gently as the asteroid rotates, catching facets of crystal, patches of dust, veins of metal. Each angle is a letter in a language of light. You think of light like a river, flowing across a landscape of minerals. It bends, splits, scatters, revealing secrets hidden in shadow and shine. You reach for your spectrometer, your tool, to translate light's subtle messages. It records the wavelengths reflected, absorbed, or emitted. Each pattern is a fingerprint, unique to the elements and compounds beneath. You begin to see the asteroid's surface not as a uniform rock, but as a mosaic. Silicates sparkle faintly, casting tiny rainbows. Carbon-rich areas absorb light deeply, holding it like a secret. Metals shimmer with a cold fire, reflecting in silver and gold tones. Light reveals what your eyes cannot see. The mineralogy, the texture, the history encoded in color. You watch as sunlight passes through thin layers of crystal, bending and splitting like water through glass. This phenomenon known as refraction creates illusions of depth, and sometimes, strange glowing halos. These optical dances tell you about the asteroid's internal structures, the thickness of layers, the purity of crystals, the subtle shifts in composition. You feel yourself slowing, sinking into this soft symphony of light and matter. It is a conversation without words. A quiet interplay where energy travels, carrying information, weaving a connection between star and stone, between distant past and present moment. You recall that photons carry more than visible light. Invisible rays, ultraviolet, infrared, also arrive, warming the rock or breaking bonds in its surface chemistry. The sun's energy is a sculptor, reshaping the asteroid in small but relentless ways. It drives subtle chemical changes, breaking molecular bonds, freeing atoms to drift away in space. This process, called space weathering, slowly changes the asteroid's face, giving it a patina of time. Light does not only reveal history, it writes new stories. You let your gaze wander across the asteroid's irregular surface, noticing how shadows stretch and soften with each turn. The angles of craters and ridges catch different light. Some areas glow with a warm hue, others fade into deep blue-black. The dance of light and shadow sculpts a landscape both alien and strangely familiar. You imagine standing on this surface, feeling the sun's warmth on your skin. Not fierce like on Earth, but a gentle pulse, a heartbeat of energy that sustains even in the emptiness. You think about photons traveling faster than anything else in the universe, arriving in your instruments moments after they leave the sun. This speed carries a promise that nothing is truly lost in the vastness, that light connects all things across unimaginable distances. You watch as sunlight glints off tiny metallic flecks, like stars twinkling on a miniature night sky. They remind you of constellations, tiny cosmic maps written in mineral dust. Your mind drifts to how light reveals not only what is, but what was. The colors and reflections tell of heat and cooling, of melting and solidifying. They whisper of ancient impacts, and of the slow weathering by solar winds. They speak of a stone that lives in time, shaped by forces vast and slow. You reach out, running your fingers along the smooth surface of your console, feeling grounded amidst this dance of light and shadow. Outside, the asteroid continues its silent spin, bathed in a sun that has shone for billions of years. You breathe slowly. You feel the gentle rhythm of light and matter touching, the universe speaking softly through reflections on a billion-year stone. And you wonder, what else might light reveal if we learn to listen deeper? What stories remain hidden in shadow, waiting to be seen? Your eyes close gently. The soft glow fades, but the memory of light lingers, a quiet promise carried in every photon's journey. You imagine what lies beneath the asteroid's surface, far below the light and shadow, where silence thickens into stillness. Here, beyond your sight, a hidden world unfolds, a universe of atoms and elements, dancing in slow and ancient rhythms. It's a dance so delicate, so gradual, you almost forget it's happening. Yet it shapes everything: the texture of the stone, the colors you saw, the very story this rock tells. You close your eyes and let your mind dive into this microscopic world. Atoms move like dancers in a ballroom, invisible to your eyes but unmistakable in their presence. They gather in pairs, triplets, clusters bound by invisible hands called chemical bonds. These bonds hold them close, yet not forever. They break and form again, endlessly reshaping the pattern. Imagine oxygen and silicon, the most common partners here, twirling gracefully to form silicate minerals. They create the very framework of the asteroid, sturdy yet flexible, ancient yet ever-changing. You feel the rhythm of this dance, slow, steady, like waves rolling across a quiet sea. Each step is measured by time, measured not in seconds, but in centuries and millennia. A bond here breaks, another forms there. The dance never stops, even in the vast silence of space. You picture the atoms vibrating, like tiny bells ringing softly, their energy shifting with temperature and pressure. When the asteroid's interior warms slightly, molecules gain the courage to move, to rearrange, creating new patterns of crystalline beauty. You think of iron, slipping into the dance, sometimes leading, sometimes following, weaving through silicates like a shadow. It binds with sulfur, forming minerals that gleam faintly metallic. Together, these elements tell stories of heat and cooling, of differentiation within the asteroid's body. Your instruments have detected traces of water locked away, not as liquid, but within mineral structures. Water, the silent partner in this dance, twisting and turning atoms in new ways. Its presence hints at a history of interactions beyond mere rock and metal, of chemical transformations with subtle but profound consequences. You let your mind imagine the slow movement of fluids inside microscopic pores. Perhaps ancient ice melted deep within, trickling through cracks, carrying atoms along, reshaping minerals gently, patiently, like an artist's brush. The asteroid's interior is not static but alive in its own quiet way. It is a chamber of change, where heat from radioactive decay, a slow-burning fire, provides the energy for this elemental choreography. You think about those long half-lives, those invisible decays that warm stone and coax atoms to move. You picture the dance growing more intricate as temperature rises and falls over eons, as pressure ebbs and flows with subtle shifts in the asteroid's shape. Patterns form, disappear, reform, a never-ending waltz of transformation. You feel your own breath slow, matching this rhythm, sinking deeper into the stillness. And you realize this dance beneath the surface is both fragile and enduring. Each bond a promise, each break a possibility. You think about the surface you have seen, rough, scarred, dusted in sunlight, and realize it is only a thin veil over this deeper story. The asteroid is a vessel, holding secrets in its elemental ballet. A slow-motion symphony played out atom by atom, under the weightless gaze of the cosmos. You picture yourself gently reaching beneath the crust, not with hands, but with curiosity, feeling the pulse of chemistry, the heartbeat of creation itself. And in this moment, you understand. Even the quietest stone is alive with movement. Even what seems still is always becoming. You open your eyes slowly, bringing your awareness back to the gentle hum of your ship, the faint scent of recycled air. Outside, the asteroid keeps turning. Inside, atoms keep dancing. And you know your journey continues deeper still. You drift slowly, cradled by the calm of space, Yet beneath that calm lies a fragile tension, subtle and unspoken. It is the quiet breath before a change, the delicate balance between knowing and not knowing. You have learned to listen to the asteroid's stories, its ancient scars, its whispering layers of light and atoms. But now you wonder, what risks hide beneath its serene surface? What threats lie silent, waiting to unfold? The asteroid is a vessel of deep time, yes, but it is also a complex system of fragile harmony of forces. The chemistry you witnessed, the fractures and cavities, the slow dance of elements all exist in a balance that could shift with the slightest nudge. You think of pressure. Though the asteroid drifts in the vacuum of space, its interior carries stresses locked like tension in a taut string. The fractures you saw, delicate and ancient, may hold more than memories. They hold potential energy, waiting in stillness. Your mind drifts to the drills, the tools of human curiosity that have touched this stone. What if the act of exploration, careful, methodical as it is, disturbs that balance? What if a fracture widens, a volatile pocket releases gas, or heat rises unexpectedly? You feel a chill, not of cold, but of awareness. Science often celebrates discovery, but it also carries caution. You know that space is unforgiving. Small actions can have outsized consequences. The asteroid's silence, so profound and gentle, masks a complex web of cause and effect. You think of the volatile compounds locked beneath the surface, organic molecules, trapped gases, perhaps even ices that have lingered since the solar system's infancy. These substances are delicate. Disturbance could release them suddenly, changing the local environment within the asteroid and possibly beyond. You imagine tiny fractures breathing open, whispering free molecules into the void. The balance between containment and release is thin, like the fragile skin of a bubble. And then there is radiation. The sun bathes the asteroid in particles that slowly alter its chemistry. Human activity, drilling, heating, sampling adds new energy into this environment. The asteroid may respond not in anger, but in reaction. A subtle shift in chemical pathways, a slow chain of reactions that accelerates beyond expectation. You think about ignition, not fire as on Earth, but chemical reactions that release energy, perhaps driving changes deep within the asteroid's core. The heat might be small, the changes gradual, but in the vacuum of space, small changes ripple outward. You listen to the hum of your instruments, calibrated and precise. They have detected no immediate danger. But the unknown remains an invitation and a warning wrapped in one. You feel the weight of this knowledge settle gently on your shoulders. Exploration is not without consequence. Each action, each sample taken, each drill extended is a step into a delicate web of cause and effect. You wonder about stewardship, about responsibility. How to learn from the stone without breaking it. How to honor its ancient story without silencing it. You imagine the asteroid as a living thing, not alive in the way we are, but alive in its own way. Its reactions slow, measured, profound. You close your eyes briefly and breathe deeply, letting calm wash over you. In this vastness, your presence is small but not insignificant. The asteroid's future, and perhaps the future of understanding itself, depends on patience and care. And as you open your eyes again, the silence deepens. It is a quiet question hanging between you and the stone. What happens next when curiosity meets the fragile balance of the unknown? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. See you next time.